Chickens has been an interesting adventure. The question that first had to be asked is why heritage birds can't be grown for both chickens and eggs. That way you could literally supply yourself with a supply of fresh homegrown chickens. Just hatch them out and raise them up. So back in March we received a shipment of 4 breeds of birds. We purchased 30 Buff Orpingtons, 30 Black Australorps, and 30 Rhode Island Reds with 10 leghorns for laying hens. And the idea was the first 3 breeds was to get them unsexed and butcher the cockerels. The entire project has been built as we went. The weekend before the chicks arrived, we built 4 brooder boxes, which we repurposed as range pen shelters when the chicks feathered out. The downside to that was that we got to the stage of butchering and I really needed to get the coop finished because the repurposed brooder boxes were way too small to house all the chickens. So not only that, but they were needed for the 100 Cornish Cross chickens that were arriving about the time we butchered the cockerels. So they had to be converted back into brooder boxes. As the chickens are growing, we started working on range pens. The first one was okay, but we could not climb into it. So we switched to a hoop style pen that we could walk in and out of, and that turned out to be the one we really liked.
Dad, when they fly, they're just like flying for good.
Oh yeah? What do you mean by that?
Like they're just flying like the grown-up chickens do.
Oh. So we're busy people around here, always doing projects. And along the way, we were installing perimeter fencing around our 1-acre pasture for our goats. The fencing that was there was extremely inadequate, and I don't want to be the neighbor who always has his animals out and into the neighbor's property. Plus, I live on a road that's pretty high speed, and I didn't want to start losing my animals to the road either. So we were working on fencing, and on top of that, we're just working on life and keeping groceries on the table for a growing family of 9 growing children. So in July, we finally got around to building our chicken coop, and we were getting close to where we needed to butcher some cockerels and have a place for our up-and-coming laying hens so that they could have a proper location to leave the eggs that we have been desiring so much. I designed it so that I could build all the walls individually, and we built barn-style trusses for it, which we hauled pre-built everything in pieces, and we hauled it all out to the pasture piece by piece and assembled it there. We finished the chicken coop the week before we were scheduled to butcher the 32 surviving cockerels, and we saved just over 40 laying hens so that we had the egg production that a family our size needs, because we eat lots of eggs. And so when you add that up, we were 32 cockerels and just a little over 40 laying hens. I can't remember the exact number. There was a lot of losses. We lost 25 or 30 birds in the process, and we're assuming we saw a few situations where we kind of assumed it was cannibalism from too many cockerels in one location, and then also we believe we had a problem with some raccoons and cats getting in to beating us to the harvest, basically. There's a lot of room in this chicken coop. Nesting boxes down below. I got 15 nesting boxes, and there's this handy dandy roosting rail up above, and there's an upper floor, an upper deck for the elite chickens. Butcher day came, and we had all the pieces. We had some stainless steel cones for killing, a propane boiler for the scalding, a plucker, and some tables for people to gut at, and a wash basin for the final cleaning of the birds. And at the end, we packaged them in plastic bags before chilling. The first problem we encountered was the killing phase. Your standard for sharp knives gets a quick evaluation the first time you try to cut a throat of a chicken. We killed the first bird and pulled out the sharpener. Our sharpener was worthless and we could not find our stone, so I ran to town and picked up 4 cheap fish filleting knives and raced home to try again. My first knife was dull, but I did learn that any knife is dull unless you first get down to skin before you try to cut anything. And cutting feathers is not a very easy process, and it kind of freaks out the bird, which isn't very fair for the bird. The second difficulty was that my plucker did not pluck the birds cleanly, and we kind of came to the conclusion it's because our birds were small and their legs and heads would get caught around the edges of the rotating part. And so I think if we had a bigger bird, the weight of the bird would help kind of keep everything moving and prevent them from catching. I don't know, it's a theory. So when Joe Salatin makes a video about butchering a chicken, it's almost as if the chickens are willing accomplices to the idea that they enjoy being harvested for human consumption. Because when I was trying to kill my birds, they wouldn't stay in the cone, they'd flip over in the cone, and they could escape out both ends of the cone. So that was really difficult. Mary was our most experienced hand with gutting, so right away she trained Joseph and Johnny to do the gutting, and then she moved to the end of the process for a final cleaning and double checking to make sure everything was out. But she was definitely our star team member. Tell me what you're doing there.
I'm just making sure that they're all clean and no one missed anything and the feathers are off.
What would they miss?
Lungs.
Lungs? Chickens have lungs? One problem that we had that manifested itself was we have
gallery up there.
3 children, Timmy, Macrina, and Vinny, who are very dependent upon their mother, who was the final stage of the process for packaging. So we had to rally around her and help her with the packaging, because those little guys, they don't have any standard for cleanliness or desire to be helpful.
What is it?
What is it? There's your gizzard, there's the crop, and there's your, what I call it, vacuum hose.
The vacuum hose?
Yeah.
The windpipe?
They're too small.
They're small.
They just get stuck down in the small spaces. So in the end, our heritage birds ranged between 2.5 and 4.5 pounds, which, you know, I don't know. I think it's probably relatively good for a heritage bird, but definitely not what you need to feed a family. So we've got 100 Cornish Cross chicks in the brooders right now, and we will work on making this process a more streamlined process in the future.